Oh, she's. You okay there? Okay. Everyone's here? Welcome, everyone. Get seated. We have to start. Sit down. So can I ask who is coming today for this program only? Okay, so lots of you. Welcome to Omega. We have been here for some days, bunch of us chanting throughout the day. And Krishna's wanted to have this workshop actually in the early days because after singing like this for so many days and repeating the name and hearing music, a lot of stuff comes up, but I guess it's come up for all of you who are coming anyway from outside. It's an ongoing thing. So he wanted to create the opportunity for us to chant together a little bit, but also to talk about things. Just talk about life and being on the path and practice and whatever you would like to, mostly. And so what we'll do today, what we used to do in the past is actually this workshop was on Tuesdays, and it was a full day. We would do a whole 2 hours of Hanuman Chalisa in the morning, and there was lunch, and then we would have a workshop in the afternoon. Hi, Jill. And but because they changed the format of the weekend and eliminated a chant day on Monday, they moved the workshop to Tuesday. So we're going to do it in a slightly different format today. Instead of what we would normally do, which would be chanting 11 Hanuman Chalisas today, which takes time, I'm just going to do a few, like maybe 3. And then Krishnadas will sing, so all of you who haven't been here have a chance to chant with him again. And then we'll move into the sort of the storytelling, talking, discussion period. And we will have a mic for those who want to ask questions. And just know that this is being live streamed, but the cameras are just on us. So you can, your question will be heard, but you don't necessarily have to be seen in the live stream. Did you all get one of these sheets? Sort of, maybe? Does your neighbor have one? This is the word sheet to the Hanuman Chalisa. Holly has them by the door. Hi, Shama. Okay. For those of you who don't know about the Hanuman Chalisa, or even if you do, I'll just say a little bit about where it comes from in terms of how it arises in our practice. It really is a core part of, when I say our, I mean mine and Krishnadas's and every extended person from there. And it's a 40-verse prayer in praise of Hanuman. Hanuman is a central character or being in an epic sacred text called the Ramayana. And that was composed in Sanskrit first by Valmiki, and then retold in a more colloquial language by Tulsidas, who was a poet saint. And because Sanskrit was usually available only to those who had the opportunity to be educated and wasn't easily accessible. And so this became the story of the people, and it still is in India. It's celebrated in so many ways during festivals, dances, dramas, television shows, books, and it's a core part of the culture, especially in Hindu homes in India. But really, everyone enjoys it in India. And I first read this story as a child and have continued to reread many versions of it. And the one that I read most recently is the transliteration and translation of this, which is now called, in Tulsi Das's form, it's called the Ram Charit Manas. And it is said that this prayer, the Hanuman Chalisa, was composed by him. And because Hanuman, we can't really go into the whole story of the Ramayana because it's a little complicated, but the idea is that through surrender and faith, courage, and trusting the truth in your heart, one is able to overcome negativities and find the positive way to move forward in life. I'm just simplifying it, but these are personified as characters in the story. We have Ram, Sita, who are considered the incarnations of divinity, actually, in a masculine and feminine form. And they come here to us to help us through the telling of this story, where a 10-headed demon Ravana needs to be vanquished. So there's a long story behind it, but the being that helps them do that brings them back together because they are separated very early on in the story, and they are beloveds. It's by the grace of Hanuman and his surrender and his ability to connect with the One that he is able to make this happen in the story. And as we chant the Hanuman Chalisa, you'll see that what we'll do is we'll read the English instead of the Avadi. Normally I read the Avadi so we can learn the pronunciation all, but we're not going to do that today. We'll just read the English and get a feeling for what's happening. You'll see that we're invoking qualities, and this is a big part of, again, our practice in India, is that we connect with divine source by invoking their qualities that we wish for in ourselves as well, and also that we wish to help us get through what we need to get through. And this prayer is something that's practiced regularly in Maharaji's temples and is sort of a refuge, a place to go when things don't feel good, but also something to practice on a regular basis. And for many of us, this is that. And I'll encourage you to look at the book Flow of Grace, which is there in the bookstore if you don't have it already. And you can learn more about Hanuman from there. Krishna Das has written this book, and there's a bunch of melodies of the Hanuman Chalisa that accompanies that book. Okay. Let's just do one Om together. Two more. Shri Hanumate first. Okay, so these are some verses that come before the 40 verses. They're invocational verses. We'll just read through them together, and then Krishnadas will expand on it later. You are the embodiment of blessings, son of the wind. You destroy the root of everything that is inauspicious and harmful. Taking the dust of my Guru's lotus feet to polish the mirror of my heart, I sing the pure fame of the best of Raghus, which bestows the 4 fruits of life. I don't know anything, so I remember you, son of the wind. Grant me strength, intelligence, and wisdom, and remove my impurities and sorrows. I take refuge at the feet of Sita's Lord, Ram. Hail, Hanuman, ocean of wisdom. Hail, Monkey Lord, you light up the 3 worlds. You are Ram's messenger, the abode of matchless power, Anjani's son, son of the wind. Great hero, you are a mighty thunderbolt, remover of evil thoughts and companion of the good. Golden-hued and splendidly adorned with heavy earrings and curly locks. In your hands shine mace, a banner, a sacred thread adorns your shoulder. You are an incarnation of Shiva and Kesari's son. Your glory is revered throughout the world. You are the wisest of the wise, virtuous and very clever, ever eager to do Ram's work. You delight in hearing of the Lord's deeds. Ram, Lakshman, and Sita dwell in your heart. Assuming a tiny form, you appeared to Sita. In an awesome form, you burned Lanka. Taking a dreadful form, you slaughtered the demons, completing Lord Ram's work. Bringing the magic herb, you revived Lakshman. Sri Ram embraced you with delight. The Lord of the Raghus praised you greatly. You are as dear to me as my brother Bharat. Thousands of mouths will sing your fame. So saying, Lakshmi's Lord drew you to himself. Sanak and the sages, Brahma and the Munis, Narada, Saraswati, and the king of serpents, Yama, Kuber, the guardians of the 4 quarters, poets and scholars, none can express your glory. You did great service for Sugriva. Bringing him to Ram, you gave him kingship. Vibhishan heeded your counsel. He became the lord of Lanka, as the whole world knows. Though the sun is millions of miles away, you swallowed it, thinking it to be a sweet fruit. Holding the Lord's ring in your mouth, it's no surprise that you leapt over the ocean. Every difficult task in this world becomes easy by your grace. You are the guardian at Ram's door. No one enters without your permission. Those who take refuge in you find all happiness. Those who you protect know no fear. You can alone withstand your own splendor. The 3 worlds tremble at your roar. Ghosts and goblins cannot come near. Great hero, when your name is uttered. All disease and pain is eradicated by constantly repeating of your name, brave Hanuman. Hanuman, you release from affliction all those who remember you in thought, word, and deed. Ram, the ascetic king, reigns over all, but you carry out all his work. One who comes to you with any yearning obtains the abundance of the 4 fruits of life. Your splendor fills the 4 ages. Your glory is renowned throughout the world. You are the guardian of saints and sages, the destroyer of demons and the darling of Ram. You grant the 8 powers and 9 treasures by the boon you received from Mother Janaki. You hold the elixir of Ram's name and remain eternally his servant. Singing your praise, one finds Ram, and the sorrows of countless lives are destroyed. At death, one goes to Ram's own abode, born there as God's devotee. Any worship of any other deities from you, Hanuman? Sorry, let me repeat that. Why worship any other deities? From Hanuman you get all happiness. All affliction ceases and all pain is removed for those who remember the great mighty hero Hanuman. Victory, 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 Lord Hanuman. Bestow your grace on me as my Guru. Whoever recites this 100 times is released from bondage and gains bliss. One who reads this Hanuman Chalisa gains success, as Gauri's Lord Shiva is witness. Says Tulsidas, who always remains Hari's servant, Lord, make your home in my heart. Son of the wind, destroyer of sorrow, embodiment of blessings, with Ram, Lakshman, and Sita, live in my heart, King of gods, refuge at the feet of Sita's Lord, Ram. You are the embodiment of blessings, son of the wind. You destroy the root of everything that is inauspicious and harmful. Mangalamurati Marutanandan Sakala Amangala Nikandan Mangalamurati Marutanandan Sakala Amangala Nikandan Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukara Sudhari Barano Raghubar Bimala Jaso Jodayak Bhalajari Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiram Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesha Bikar Siyavar Ramachandra Pad Jai Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jaya Kapishati Huloka Ujagar Ramaduta Tulta Baladhama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutana Mahavira Vikram Bajrangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Ke Sanghi Kanchana Varna Viraja Suvesa Kanana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Hatha Vajra Aur Dvaja Viraj Kandhe Moj Jane O Saj शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियाहि दिखावे विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावे भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र जी के काज संवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई सहस बदन तुम रोज सगावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद शारद सहित अहिसा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवन कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण मान लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जान युग सहस्र योजन पर भान लील्योता ही मधुर फल जान प्रभु मुद्रिका मेले मुख माही जलधि लांगी गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगमानुग्रह तुम्हारे देते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे सब सुख लाहे तुम्हारी शरण तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज संहारो आपे तीनों लोक हांकते कापे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीर जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीर संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम भजन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोए अमित जीवन फल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा हे पर से जगत उजियारा संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास सदा रहो रघुपति के दास तुम्हारे भजन राम जी को पावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाए जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाए और देवता चित्तन धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलवीर जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई छूटहि बंधु महासुख होय जो यहाँ पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा होया सिद्धि साकी गौरीसा तुलसीदास सदा हरि देव कीजे नाथ हृदय महदेव पवन तनय संकट हरण हृदय बसहु सुरहु सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम। मंगलमूर्ति मारुतनंदन सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन। मंगलमूर्ति मारुतनंदन सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन। श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारि। बरनौ रघुबर बिमल जसु जो दायक फलचारि। बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार। बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु क्लेश विकार। सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर। रामदूत अतुलित बल धाम अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नाम। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी। कंचन वरण विराज सुवेश कानन कुंडल मंगलमूर्ति राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुरभु सियावर रामचंद्र सकल मंगल मूल निकंद मंगल मूर्ति मारुतनंद सकल अमंगल मूल निकंद. 1 second. श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रजा निज मन मुकुर सुधारी बरनो रघुबर बिमल जसु जो दायक फलचारी बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमेरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु क्लेश विकार सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम. जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धाम अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नाम महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरण विराज सुवेश कानन कुंडल कुंचित केस हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराज कांधे मोज जनेऊ साज शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियाहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र जी के काज सवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हरषि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई सहस वदन तुम रोजस गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद शारद सहित अहिसा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहांते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहांते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवन कीन्हा राम मिलाया राजपद दीन्हा तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुरभु सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन सकला मंगल मूल निकंदन मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन श्री राम जय जय राम 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 श्री राम Is he here? He's in the back. Krishnadas, you can come out now.
Should have kept on singing. In the summer of, the fall of 1971, we were in the temple with Maharaji up in the mountains, Kenchi. And every day we came to the temple and from Nainital, the local town, and we were given this little booklet, a yellow booklet with a picture of a flying monkey on it. I had about 100 of these booklets in my room at the hotel when, one day, it occurred to me to ask what it was that we were getting every day we came. So he said, oh, it's a prayer to Hanumanji. I said, oh, wow, really? So I thought, well, then Krishna said, he thinks he had the thought. He said, well, if we learn this, we could sing it to Maharaji, because we knew that secretly he wanted to spend more time with us. But he was having trouble figuring out how to do that. So we figured if we could sing to him, we knew he liked that. If we could sing to him, then, we could help him out. So Ramdas had arranged for a Buddhist meditation teacher to spend the whole rainy season with us up in the mountains in India, teaching us how to meditate. And so Maharaji sent us, we all went up to Kosani, and then as soon as we got there, we got a letter from the Buddhist meditation teacher saying that he couldn't come. You feel the monkey's paw behind that? So we were stuck up there for like 3 months. And so me and Rameshwaras, we thought, well, we could learn this Chalisa. So we had 3 months to go through it. We didn't speak Hindi or read Hindi. We had to learn each letter. We went through it letter by letter, the, wa, And then there was a guy there who taught us a melody. And so we kind of learned it. We're still kind of learning it. And so we came back to the temple and we secretly organized a puja day on Tuesday, Hanuman's Day. We ordered 80 kilos of laddus, Hanuman's favorite sweet, besan ki laddus, to be brought from Nainital. And we bought all the plates, the stainless steel, the arti light, all the stuff, and the bells and the bangers and the clangers and everything. And on Tuesday we were going to sing. We were going to do a ritual to Maharaji, so arti, and we were going to sing the Hanuman Chalisa, the first time the Westerners were ever going to do that in the universe, the known universe anyway. And then, so we were all ready for Tuesday, and we're sitting out there on Monday morning, and he comes bashing through the doors, and he says, "Sing the Chalisa now!" So we all went running and got our books, and I was standing right in front of him, and we got to one line, and he stopped. He tried to correct me, and I went, "Huh?" And he looked at me and said, never mind, just sing." And he never corrected me after that. He saw it was ridiculously useless to even try. But so from those little books, right, and then that one little thought, like, maybe we could learn this? Here we are, right? How strange, how amazing, huh? Really quite extraordinary. We used to say, the monkey's paw came down. The iron paw, we used to say. What you saying? Huh? I can't hear you. Sounds important. All right, so let's sing a little bit. And then the children should go for ice cream. And bring some for me. Vegan. What? Yeah, let's do some more chalisas. Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nityamana Mukuru Sudha Varno Raghuvara Bimala Jasu Chodaya Kupalachar Buddhihin Tanu Janake Sumiram Pavana Kuma Siaram Pallabudhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Rahu Kalesa Bika Syavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Dhyana Guna Saga Jaya Kabisa Dehu Loka Ujaga Ramaduta Tulta Valadham Anjani Putra Pavana Sutana Mahavir Bajrang Kumatnavar Sati Kesan Kanchana Varana Biraj Subes Kanan Kundala Kunchita Kes Bajror Dvaja Biraj Nande Mujajane Usad Shankar Suvan Kesari Nanda Eja Pratapa Mahajagabanda Idyavan Gunyati Chatu Ramakaja Karibeko Abcharita Sunibeko Rasi Ramalakana Sita Manabasi Sukshma Rupa Dhariliya Hindekava Kata Rupa Dhariliya Ramachandra ke kaj savar Ayasa jivan lakana jiyai Raguvira harshiralai Ragupati kini porta parai Mama priya bhartai samavai Sabadana tumaro jasagav Asakari Shri Pati Kantalaga Sanakadika Brahmadi Munisa Arada Sharada Sarita Ahisa Yamakuber Digapala Jahante Abhiko Vidakaya Sake Kahante Uma Upakar Sugriva Inkina Rama Milaya Raja Padadina जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीर संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे अब पर राम तपस्वी राजा इनके काज सकल तुम साज और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोवे अमित जीवन फल पावे ताऊ युग प्रताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार साधु संत के तुम रखवार असुर निकंदन राम दुलार अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता सवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास सदा रहो रघुपति के दास तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरे भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्त न डरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीर जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई ओ सत बार पाठ कर कोई तही बंदी महासुख होय होया पर हनुमान चालीसा होया सिद्धि साखी गाड़ी तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय महादेव पवन तनय संकट हरन मंगल मूर्ति रूप सिया राम राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसव सुर भूप सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम मंगल मूर्ति मारुतनंद सकल मंगल मूल निकंद मंगल मूर्ति मारुतनंद सकल मंगल मूल निकंद श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय राम श्री 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 राम जय राम सीताराम 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 जय सीताराम 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 जय maybe. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Okay. Take a break. Nappy time for the band. Don't let me bother you, please, or interrupt your conversations. Shut up. So, give them the cold stare. That's what these guys get when they play a wrong note. They go. Of course, they're better musicians than me, so it's a joke. Do we have this set up? Okay. So, you know, I find myself in the strange position of being an old fucker who's been doing this too fucking long. Whoops, I forgot there's kids here. You see, that proves I'm an old fucker. But one of the things that's happened to me over the years, hey, talk outside if you want to talk. One of the things that's happened to me over the years is, especially hanging out with Ram Dass in this last 20 plus years of his life as he navigated life in a wheelchair, it became apparent that what we used to think about what was spiritual and what really is spiritual are two different things. When we first got to India, and when I first heard about the so-called spiritual path, I always assumed, quite naturally really, that it was about me and how I felt. And so every time I would meditate or do any kind of practice, the parallel thought flow was about how am I now? How am I now? How is this? Is this good? Am I doing it right? Am I feeling good? You know, how's this? Should it be like this? Should it be like that? Am I doing? It was all about me and how I felt. And I remember one day sitting in front of Maharaji, and I realized that I was waiting for something to happen, to be free, liberated, nirvana, liberation. And I recognized that my understanding of that would be someplace that I wouldn't be. I would be gone. And I almost laughed out loud because I understood it was actually exactly the opposite. There's no place where we will not be, ever. Not in a billion years. So, we better clean up our rooms. Just like our mothers told us. Because that's the only thing that we have to do. Everything we need, everything we long for, everything we're looking for in the outside world, everything we're trying to get from in relationships or TVs or cars or life is already inside of us. And it's not different from who we are. And I saw that my vision of nirvana or enlightenment being someplace where I wouldn't be was really just simply more self-hatred. How could I be there, right? If I'm such a schmuck. So, and Maharaji didn't say anything at that time. But he never encouraged us to do any kind of spiritual practice for our own sake, for our own spiritual enlightenment. Never. Never. I mean, the sun doesn't counsel the plants on how to grow. It just shines. And that's the deal. That is always shining. But we are not paying attention. And we are identified with the clouds and can't see the sky. Which is reasonable, I mean, considering I was born on Long Island, or in Manhattan anyway. Nobody, Long Island, come on. But still, once I asked Siddhima, I said, Ma, should I meditate or should I sing? And she said, well, what do you like to do? What? You mean doing what I like? I can do what I like? Nobody ever told me that. And then I said to her, see, Maharaji used to tease us, he used to say, I have the keys to the mind. He said, I could turn your minds against me. No, Baba, don't do that. And he would laugh. Transfer ho jayega, I'll transfer you, Can you imagine one day you wake up, and you're in the, where am I? India? How the hell? I'm going back to New York. And you totally forget what you're doing. He just transferred you. People, that's what happened. In fact, some years ago, we were in Kenchi and we were singing Chalisas in front of Maharaji's temple. And there was a woman there who was with Maharaji in the old days, but hadn't been back to India in like 30 years. This was her first visit back to India. And while we were singing, I noticed her standing by the steps, looking up at where his bed was, outside Tucket, they call it. He would sit there, and we would sit on the steps and all around him. And she was standing there, and I thought, whoa, something's going on over there. So when I finished singing, she came over to me, and I was the only person there besides her who had been with Maharaji physically at that time. So she said, Krishna Das, I think you're the only one who can understand this. I said, what? She said, I was standing on those steps just now. And as I was standing there, I remembered standing there looking at him in 1973, standing there looking at him, and I remember that at that time I felt, I'm home, I made it, I'll always be right here. And she looked at me, she said, what happened? Our whole life happened, right? Kids, families, business, transferred. It was like he brought us there, he did what he had to do, and he just sent us back into our lives. When he sent me back to America, he said, you have to go, you have attachment there. And I thought, attachment? What? I gave everything away when I came down. I was never going to go back to America. I gave my jeans away. Sold my guitar to a friend of this guy's. And attachment? What's he talking about? I know. Every single thing that's happened to me, every thought I've had, everything from that moment to this moment is what he was talking about. There was this pool of karmic stuff that just had to be worked out. Couldn't be avoided. It had to be worked out in the West. It wasn't going to happen in India. First of all, I was so sick, it was ridiculous at that point. Hepatitis, parasites, everything. If I had stayed in India, I wouldn't have lived very long. So so I said to Siddhima, should I meditate or should I? She said, well, what do you like to do? And then she said, Krishnadas, in 40 years with Maharaji, he never once asked me to meditate. What? He said, do your japa, which is what we're doing, the repetition of the name, and serve people. And he said, the more subtle states of mind can't be brought about by the use of our personal will. Trying to use your personal will to get beyond your personal will is never going to work. Like Ramana Maharshi says, asking the thief to be the policeman. There'll be a lot of investigation, but no arrest will ever be made. But it's tricky, because we do have to use our will. We have to develop new habits of thought and of the way we go through our lives, because we're being ruled by our old habits. And our old habits were formed in our early life, and they continue to be formed, and we're still pretty much at the mercy of those habits. We think of ourselves in a certain way. We like certain things, we don't like other things. Like Cheerios, better than Wheaties. So we have to develop new habits, and the only way you do that is through a regular practice. And of course, all the Babas say that if you're doing practice and you haven't become a kinder, more compassionate person, then you haven't done shit. They say that, exactly. And don't think they don't say that exactly. So at the same time that we need to cultivate new habits and practice letting go of stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, we have to recognize that when we sing, it's not about how we feel right at that moment necessarily. Yeah, no, good feelings may come, good feelings may go, or you might have a painful memory, and this and all the things can happen while you're chanting. But while we're chanting, we're actually planting seeds. Seeds of the name. And the name is not different than what is named. So we're actually in the presence as we chant, but we don't recognize that. We don't, because we still think we are who we think we are. And that's a problem. Ramakrishna said every seed, and here, actually Ramakrishna described the way, one of the ways that chanting works. He said, every repetition of the name is a seed. And so when you chant, you're planting seeds, right? So he said, some of these seeds are caught by the wind, and they're blown miles and miles, and they land on the roof of an old house in the jungle. This is in the 1850s he's talking. So, and the roof of that house was made of clay tiles that were dried in the sun. They weren't really kiln dried, they weren't that hard. So the seeds of the repetition of the name, which is what we just did, are caught by the wind and they land on the roof of this old house. And they get stuck between the tiles, right? And then over time and seasons change, wind, rain, snow, heat, the tiles start to break down. And then the seeds start to grow. And they grow, and they grow, and they destroy the roof of the house. And they keep growing, and they destroy the walls of the house. Ramakrishna said, that house is who we think we are. Our sense of who we are as a separate, egoistic being. So that sense of separateness is destroyed by the repetition of the name, by the seeds we plant. But not once does he say, you'll feel like this or you'll feel like that. But basically that's all we think about. How do I feel now? How do I feel now? Oh, I'm really high now. I hope I can keep this. You know, that's how we go through life, avoiding pain and trying to hold on to this little pleasurable place. But it's not about that. And that'll never work. So we do our practice. We put the time in every day. Just, if you're rushing around, 2 minutes. Just disconnect for 2 minutes. Because it's like a leaf floating to the ground. As soon as you let go, that leaf starts to flow down to the ground. And you start to settle back to who you are for a minute. Then you get busy again and forget. Maharaj used to say, go on, sing your lying Ram Ram. One of these days, you really call out, and the real Ram will come. But he did say, go on singing. And he said, sing when you're happy, sing when you're sad, sing when you're angry, sing when you're depressed, sing when you're tired. If you don't do it, then what, he said. So the best time to practice is when you really don't want to. When you really, it's like, I don't want, that's the best time. One Ram at that moment is worth 1 billion at any other time. Oh, I'm feeling so good, Ram, 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 Ram. Yeah. When I was going to kill myself in the temple, having a nervous breakdown, hallucinating, it was really quite a show. I thought I would, I could, if I jump into the river, maybe I could. It was like 6 inches deep. I thought if I got my head under a rock, maybe it could work, And he said, you can't die. What are you going to do? Jump in the river? Ha! You can't die. Worldly people don't die. Worldly people don't. Only Jesus died the real death. Huh? Why? Because he never thought of himself. What do we do? All day long, every day, we think about ourselves. How am I now? Do they like me? They don't like me. What should I wear? Should I go there? Should I go here? What should I do here? The movie of me never ends. We write it, produce it, direct it, and act in it. And we also write reviews that we read and get even more depressed. How do you get out of that? You can't. You can't write yourself out of your own movie. Well, that's what practice is about. And that's why practice is so important. Whatever it means to you, reading a holy book is a practice, reading about the saints is a practice, chanting is a practice, watching the breath. Anything that's a practice to you is good. Somehow or other, we have to kind of figure out a way how to let go of this obsession with me, with the movie of me. And it's not easy. It takes time. It's a ripening process. Every time you go up, you're going to come down. That's the way it works. You go up, you come down. You go down, you come up. So that's why chanting isn't about how you feel at that moment. You might go up, you might go down. It really doesn't matter. People ask me all the time, what do you feel when you chant? And I say, how do I know? I'm not paying attention to how I feel. I'm supposed to be doing this to the sound of the name. That's, thoughts come, thoughts go. Yeah, I notice them. They come, they go. But I don't remember them. I don't write them down. Oh yeah, 3 minutes and 37 seconds on the second chant, I thought. And then I had, what does it matter? But it does matter to us. We don't like to suffer. But how are we going to get free of that? When it's the me that's the cause of all the suffering in the first place. So, that's why you said, don't think about yourself. Not easy, because all we do, that's all we've been trained to do, which is what I'm talking about, new habits. When you sing, when you meditate, when you sit down, when you do some japa, you simply let go of whatever else arises and you try to be with the sound of the mantra or the name, whatever you're doing, or be with your breath. And he said again, from repeating these names of God, everything is accomplished. Now that's a very big thing to say, especially when it comes from somebody like him, because he knows what he's talking about. From the repetition of the name, everything is accomplished. Now, that was 50 years ago or more. Do I believe it? If I really believed it, I wouldn't be sitting here. I would be home going 24 hours a day. But to the extent that I believe it, I do it. But really, considering all my experiences and being with him for 2.5 years in the body, you'd think that that would have a bigger effect on me. What to do? It's not so easy to get out of who you think you are. It's just not hard. It's not easy to do that. But What else are you going to do? There's nothing else to do. Go to the supermarket sometime and just look around. There's nobody home. It's scary. Nobody's there. Not one person is semi-awake. And you look around in your life, see who's paying attention. See who's trying to, wake up. Not many people. So the fact that we're here today is pretty interesting. There are a lot of other things we could be doing. But we are spending some time trying to find out what this is all about and who we are. And that's a good thing. And that itself is a result of seeds we must have planted ourselves sometime. Because nothing can happen without a cause. Everything has a cause. And in turn every effect becomes a cause. So we got here from planting seeds. While we're here, we're planting more seeds. And whatever's going to happen in time is going to be the result of all the other seeds we planted. But we plant lots of different kinds of seeds through the day. Because every thought is a seed. And every action is a thought on steroids. And it makes an impression in the mind stream. And that everything is known. Everything has to be lived through. So if we go through our day semi-conscious and trying to remember ourselves and treat other people at least as well as we would like to be treated, that will change the way we go through our day. It'll change the kind of seeds we plant. If we spend all day watching TV, that's what'll happen. Gone. So it's interesting. Because we don't really have a vote, much of a vote, most of the time. Most of our actions are pretty pre-programmed. They're in reaction, or they're mostly reactions. So to get a vote would be good on how we go through the day, on how we treat other people, how we see ourselves. We have all these knee-jerk reactions about ourselves and in relation to other people. I heard it said it's better to love everybody than to try to figure it out. It's not easy to love everybody. One day Ram Dass, in the old days, Maharaji said, Ram Dass, you're a saint. You shouldn't touch money. So Ram Dass gave all his money to this guy to hold for him, his bag man. And then you shouldn't drive. Give him the keys. So he gave me the keys. My first name was Driver. So one day Ram Dass woke up in Nainital, and all of the Westerners had already left for Kenchi. And he had no money and no car. So he had to walk over the mountains. It's like a 4-hour walk. And the whole time he was just angrier and angrier and angrier. And he walks into the temple, and the guy who he hated the most picked up we were being fed across the courtyard. Maharaji was having us fed. The guy picks up a plate and offers it to Ram Dass. Ram Dass takes the plate and he throws it right in the guy's face. And Maharaji's sitting right there. He said, Ram Dass, something wrong? Ram Dass goes over there and he said, Ram Dass, love everyone and tell the truth. Ram Dass says, the truth is, I don't love everyone. Maharaji said, Ram Dass, love everyone and tell the truth. So he had to kind of surrender to that a little bit. So he gets up and he took a plate of food and he put a little food on everybody. He gave everybody a little piece of food. He did his Jesus thing for a minute, But it took him a long time. But by the end of his life, Ram Dass could say that he loved everybody. It was quite beautiful to be with him those last years in the wheelchair. You know, we go through our days, you know, oh yeah, I'll meditate tomorrow, I'll figure this out tomorrow. Yeah, today I'll just go to the movies, what the fuck, you know, I'll do this, I'll do that. We think we have lots of time. We really do. We never think that the next breath could be the last. But Ram Dass was in this wheelchair. He couldn't get out of it. There was nowhere he could escape. He needed help to do everything, and this is a big egomaniacal guy who did everything for himself. It wasn't easy for him to give up, but he had to surrender. And he said to me many times, he said, the stroke saved my life. And he meant it. When he first had the stroke, you know, he said Maharaji had given him fierce grace, he said. And he actually thought that Maharaji had given him the stroke. But when he went to India, the only time in the wheelchair, Siddhima immediately said to him, Ram Dass, Maharaji didn't give you the stroke. He'd never give you a stroke. The stroke is your karma. What Maharaji gives you is the grace and the blessings to overcome the effects of that karma. And he really did. He never complained. It was quite extraordinary. There were times when he was just so sick, he would get these breakout in these urinary tract infections, and they would go into the blood, and he would be like 2 days away from dying. They'd rush him to the hospital. They'd find the right antibiotic, put him on IVs, and he'd come back. This happened like every other month. It was extraordinary. Yeah, it was quite wonderful to be with him for those years. To see him surrender deeper, more and more deeply, all of his stuff. Tremendous courage. It takes tremendous courage to let go of your stuff. Like I said, the stroke, there was no escape. We think we have lots of escapes, lots of time, you know. But he knew there was nowhere he could go. He was stuck in that chair. Yeah, he watched a little TV, not too much. And, yeah. And he really began to move into the love. He really began to move into the love. And that's not easy because he used to be a cranky bastard. We had some fights over the years. We didn't speak to each other for like 10 years at one point. But just to watch him open up, to blossom like that was so beautiful. And we used to do the retreats on Maui, and it was just, he was just radiating so beautifully. But that's because he had to, and there was nothing else for him to do, and he recognized that. You know, so that could happen. I'm sure you know people who are in wheelchairs who aren't the happiest people in the world. But by the end of his life, he was. Because he overcame the negative aspects of that experience. I mean, he had neuropathy from diabetes. He had it was either hip or knee replacements. I mean, he had all kinds of things and pain. And he never complained. It was beautiful, really inspiring. So let's pay a little attention and realize that these bodies are decomposing at whatever rate they're decomposing. And there's not much we can do about that. So that's our wheelchair. And we should try to recognize that and do the best we can with what we have. We only get one shot of life. So it'd be good to use that best we can. Okay, so we can do some questions. I'll ask the questions. There's a microphone. If you want to say something, raise your hand.
Oh, hi. It's less of a question than well, it's kind of a question and a comment.
Okay, hold on a second. If they're going to use mass, you got to really boost that mid and high level.
How about that?
Okay. Go ahead. We'll try.
So when you were in Boone, you said that, I forget what the question somebody asked you, but then you said, I'm happy just eating Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah.
You said you were happy eating Honey Nut Cheerios.
Not Honey Nut.
No?
Sugar-free.
Just regular?
Ah, regular
Okay.
Cheerios.
Watching a lot of TV and drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's, minus the Cheerios, that's what I do. So
Okay.
it made me feel better. Thank you.
God bless you. Also, you should do a few 100,000 repetitions of the name every day, too. Not that I do. Hare Rama. You know there's Cheerios? I found Cheerios in Iceland. I found Cheerios in Germany. I found Cheerios in Norway, maybe? Was it Norway? I'm not sure about Denmark. Stina, Cheerios in Denmark? Huh? Not sure about that.
Cheerios are the way to enlightenment.
What do you say?
Cheerios are the way to enlightenment.
Yeah, well, there's a big hole in them, that's for sure. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, and all over Europe. And they all make them a little differently because some of the ingredients are different. It's wonderful to find those Cheerios everywhere. After you've been in India for 50 years, your stomach doesn't want anything more than Cheerios, believe me. Yeah, anybody?
Hi. I have a question that has nothing to do with Cheerios.
Praise the Lord.
I've been on this spiritual journey for a while now, a lifetime probably, and will continue to be a lifetime. We read so many stories and people's books and journeys and memoirs about, the spiritual enlightenment from the 70s and how it felt so attainable. And I've been, looking into all these gurus and these different spiritual leaders and musicians and wanting to be on this path with other people and gurus in specific. And I find that a lot of these workshops and these intensives and these retreats are all just very expensive. And sometimes it makes it feel like finding God is really expensive right now.
Yeah, you have to you pay with your life.
Yeah, and I'm so blessed to be able to afford a day here, you know, and to be in this journey. And but that's my question is like, what do you do when God gets expensive?
Just get a discount version. Just go to a discount store and get a cheaper version. Yeah, when I came back from India, or at some point I wanted to sing with people, but I didn't want to charge because Maharaji gave everything away for free. Actually, though, the truth is that many of his devotees, only certain devotees, not everybody, he would accept donations. Well, either they would send like hundreds of bags of rice, fresh vegetables, to the temple because they wanted to give. So the people that had gave, and the people that didn't have received because he always fed everybody. So I wanted to feed everybody, but I had nothing. So I thought, I'm going to make money first, and then I can sing for free for people. So I made a lot of money for a lot of years. I worked real hard, made a lot of money. And I didn't start singing with people till I didn't have $1 to take the subway downtown with my instruments. I had to take the subway, not a cab. I didn't start singing with people until all the money was gone. Talk about fooling yourself. Totally fooled myself. So then I was singing in Jivamukti for years for free, every Monday night that I was in New York. Then somebody invited me to California. I thought, it's a long walk. So that's when money started coming around. It just works that way in America. In India, sadhu walks down the street and puts his hand out, he can get some food to eat. He can go to an ashram, and stay and get fed, have a place to sleep. The West is a little different. Yeah, go ahead.
I in no way meant to say what you do, you should do for free.
I know. I'm not saying you did, but we do. Just for information's sake, we do try to keep it to the fact that you don't have to sell your children, to get to come. We do try to keep it, and there are people who, I could be wrong, but I don't think maybe once, because it was insisted on, that the front few rows cost more than the last few rows. We never do that, but other people do that. We don't like that. It should be workable. So we do try to keep it like that. And yeah, I have no answer for you, really. I don't know why it is the way it is, but it just kind of worked out that way. There are always exchanges involved with things. I mean, Maharaji gave everything away for free, but at the same time, he was supported by the culture, by the devotees. So it was always a give and take on one level. And so that's kind of what it is here too. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess guard is relatively expensive. But yeah. And yeah. I didn't want to do it this way, but it just kind of happened that way, It was weird. And I asked Siddhima about it, and she said, "You're cool." Something like that. So. Anybody?
Are you ready for me?
Where are you?
Sorry.
Where?
I'm here.
Raise your hand. Jump up and down. Oh, there. Okay. Hi. No,
Hi.
I sit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a question about non-attachment. And yesterday I got a text and phone call about 5 o'clock saying that the building that my yoga studio was in just burned, had a fire. So the yoga studio's gone. And I was supposed to come today, but I wasn't going to. But I said, what am I going to do? There's nothing I can do except put forth the insurance claim and come here. And of course crying the whole time here until everyone started dancing, and I started dancing, and I had a thought, when the yoga studio burns down, just dance. So I don't know where to go from here, but we'll see. I just want to thank you and say I love you, and I've for 20 years been dancing to you and listening to you, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you have any answer for what to do, I don't know. I don't know. It's not really a question, but if there's an answer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, that's how the chanting allows us to let go, and that just giving that up for a moment and dancing, even though it's kind of still around, that's a big thing. Think about the way people really live in the world, right? Something like that happens, somebody could be completely destroyed emotionally, and everything. Not to mention monetarily, but inside. So something like that happens, which happens to everybody in one way or another. But the chanting or the practice can generate that letting go energy. And for even if we can let go for just a minute, we planted that seed of letting go, because that's also a seed, and so that also grows and helps us more and more as time goes on too. Yeah, good. Where's your studio? Where was it?
Grangeville, New York, about 25 minutes south of here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, when we get swept up into that beautiful energy, that's the letting go. I mean, it's not like, now I let go. No, it's not like that. It's just when you do step out of that, the mind or that flow of heavy emotions and stuff, and just let go, that's how it works. We have to be lured out of our stuff by the music, by the sound, by the name. And that teaches us, that changes us. It's not a learning situation. It's a changing situation. You don't learn how to let go. It happens as time goes on. Huh. All the noises in your heads. Huh. Hi.
Hi, my name is Edwin. I'm from Guatemala, and I want to start by saying thank you for your offerings to the world. Your music has enchanted our hearts and inspired our bodies, and letting go and becoming one with your music feels like heaven on earth. So thank you for your service.
Mm-hmm. Heaven on earth is different than the real heaven.
It is.
Yeah, but it's good enough.
And my question for you is, knowing what you know and have experienced what you have experienced, what loving suggestions would you give to your 40-year-old self?
Well, hold that thought. You know, this light here is drilling into my brain. It would be really good if it was a little lower. Just this one. Anyway, that's a little better, but maybe it could be better. What I would say to my 40-year-old self.
Yes.
Oh my. You know, I didn't start singing with people until I was 47. That's when rock stars retire. With a big house and, you know, big cars and lots of money and drugs. What was I doing 40? That was 1987. Oh, I had just given up cocaine. I would say, give up cocaine, boy. I was actually a little earlier than that. I think it was 80. When did Tuari come? 83 or something like that. I don't know. Do you know that story? Oh, yeah. I was strung out on freebase cocaine for about 2 years. And Mr. Tiwari, my Indian father, who was really my great teacher, my best friend, I would tell him anything, and I did tell him everything, and he would just, oh, very good, okay, you know. But so he came to visit the Western devotees. He had been with Maharaji for 40 years. He was a great yogi, really great yogi. Married with a family, headmaster of a school, amazing being. So he came to visit the Westerners, and I flew from California to New York, stayed the night in my father's apartment, all night smoking bass, and then smoking some fuzz on the floor that looked like from your socks or something, you know, anything. Unless you've been there, you don't really know what I'm talking about. So anyhow, then I get on the plane and I fly to Canada, and he had come to Canada, and he was out on in the townships at the place of another devotee. And I came into the house, and I walked upstairs, and I saw him sitting talking to somebody in this room, and he had his back to the door. And as I came towards the door, I kind of felt this force field, right? And I just literally started to shrink back from the door. And he turned, and he looked at me and he goes, "You, promise me now you'll give up cocaine, promise me now." So I just said, "Okay." I couldn't say no to him. There's no way I could say no to him anyway, about anything, except if we were really arguing about something. And then from that moment to this moment, pile of cocaine, pile of shit. I'll take the shit. No difference. They saved me. I mean, I couldn't, there's no way I could deal with it. I mean, if I had to fight that urge my whole life, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have made it. They took it away like that. So that was probably 85 maybe, I think, 84, 85. So I wasn't quite 40. But I wouldn't have been 40 if I didn't stop at that time. So yeah. And I wasn't doing shit. I wasn't doing any practice, nothing. I don't know. How did I get here? I have no fucking idea. Sorry.
Thank you for your answer. And my last, it's not a question, it's just an offering for you and a couple friends. If you feel called to come and visit Guatemala and come and join us in our retreats, we'll be so honored to have you.
Please. Well, let us know where it is, and you never know.
We'll see. Thank you.
Yeah, my mother was an alcoholic. My father was not an alcoholic, but weird in his way. A good person, but very weak in many ways, kind of. And I just didn't have the tools. I didn't have it, you know. I don't know. It was like they went, let the kid live, you know, something like that. And it's all grace. It's really all grace. I have very little to do with it. I accept it. I'll take it. But if it had been up to me, I'd be dead a long time ago. No question about it. But I am happy I'm still here. Yeah. Oh, stop.
Hi,
Hey.
I'm Divya. First of
You're
all,
Vidya?
Divya.
Divya, okay.
Yeah.
Not so different.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you for your music. Sorry, thank you. I'm so nervous because, this is like a dream come true, just standing in front of you.
You sure it's not a nightmare?
Your music brings so much of light in my life. I've been in very dark places, and I feel this.
Didn't I see? I saw you there in some of those bad places. Yeah. I was there too.
Yeah, so it just heals my soul. So Maharaji started coming in my dreams this year in June, and I visited Kainchi Dham in July with my son, with my 12-year-old. I flew from New York to Kainchi Dham, and it just felt home. And now he's again coming in my dreams, and he's asking me to take this spiritual path forward, and he's asking me to, help others. And so I just don't know what is the way forward, and how do I do it?
Well, if he told you to do it, he'll arrange it. So you just go with the flow. Just treat everybody the way you would like to be treated.
Yeah.
If you could do that,
Yeah.
the whole world will change immediately. So yeah, let it happen. It's not up to you. You don't have to figure it out.
Okay.
Just let him. He's the puppeteer, and he likes to let us think that we're not puppets, but he's pulling the strings. And of his own puppet too. That was the funny thing. You know, at one point I came back from India in 1995, and I was in the city, and I visited some friends. I went to their apartment, and they were watching the videos of Maharaji. You know, this may be a total of like 8 or 9 minutes that were taken in those days. And I walked in, and I just started laughing. I said, "Ha! That's not Maharaji. That's the Maharaji puppet. The real Maharaji made that puppet because we're puppets, and we have puppet eyes. We can only see other puppets. We can't see the real thing. So he made this puppet, and he makes it do funny things and laugh and hit us on the head and say Ram Ram and all that stuff. But that wasn't the real Maharaji is the one that's pulling all the strings. So when we let go, when we bow to that presence in our lives, that's when, you know, we can begin to feel that we're being guided from within. You know, we don't have to figure it out with our heads. And you tell them, you want me to serve, then you figure out how to get me serving. It's your responsibility. So yell at him. He likes that.
Hello.
Hi.
There are so many.
Real close.
There are so many sacred names, sacred words, songs, and prayers.
Yeah.
And I was just interested in when you find yourself in a vulnerable place or a place where you need to ground and sit with self, is there a specific mantra, song, or prayer that really opens you, opens your heart?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The secret mantra. No, I can't tell you. Sorry. No, it's a very simple mantra, one syllable. Yeah. Help! That'll do it. That'll do it. And there's no one button to push, but you be with that. You know, I mean, you're always here. We don't like when we don't feel good. We don't like when we're suffering. But we are still here. So it is possible, even in those moments, to recognize that we've just stepped into a fire. We're not the fire, but we stepped into it somehow. And the more you try to push the suffering away, the worse it gets. The harder it feels, the more anxious we get. So even if you would do a mantra at that point, if you're doing it to try to push it away, push the pain away, yeah, it's not going to work. Huh? I can't hear you. Sorry. Whose joy? What? Almond joy? I like almond joy. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. Get the microphone. Let's have a conversation. Where'd Eric go? Oh, it's too late. Boom. Go ahead. Hit me.
I'm genuinely interested.
In
There
what?
must be 1, 2, 3, something that really opens you. That when you chant, you feel. I'm sure you connect with everything when you chant, but isn't there maybe one that really hits your heart in a different way?
Are you talking for me specifically?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh, for me. Oh. It's UConn's women's basketball. That's what opens my heart the most. Okay. Okay, so for me, when I'm in the real shits, it's the Hanuman Chalisa. Hanuman Chalisa changes everything for me. Even if it doesn't change it in that moment, just sitting down and doing 108 Chalisas will shake your brains up a bit. So, and it all started many years ago in India. Somebody told me about this practice that if you had something, to repeat the Hanuman Chalisa 108 times, but to ask for a boon, a blessing, ask for what you really want, and then do the Chalisa. And then guaranteed it's going to happen. When, that's not up to us. But guaranteed you get it. And just the fact that you're mobilizing your will to pay attention a little bit to something like the Chalisa for the next 4 or 5 hours or more. The first time I did it, it took me like 14 hours because I sang all 108 of them. Now I can do it in about 32 seconds. That was 108. Just like that, 108. Bam, wham, bam. So, because it's a long mantra, and it takes a commitment, so all of a sudden, you've already mobilized yourself to move through the suffering, right? Okay, I'm going to do this. So no matter what else is going on, you're going to do it. And that's huge. Because mostly when difficult things happen, we just crumble and we just sit there like bumps until it goes away. And that doesn't do anything to it for us. But if we mobilize ourselves a bit, and Maharaji said, he gave us this Chalisa. I mean, it looks like we did that, but it was his blessings. He gave us this practice. And he said that every line of Hanuman Chalisa is Maha Mantra, and that Hanuman Chalisa can change karmas. So it's a very powerful statement because he didn't lie about those things. He lied about, he would leave the temple and he said, coming back tonight, 3 months later. But he didn't lie about those things. He didn't mislead us about anything. So for me, if it's really very intense, I'll do that. But that takes, that's a big commitment. And I don't really do it to eradicate the suffering or to change that. I just do it, knowing that I'm planting seeds at that moment of ultimate goodness for myself. So, and it's it turns out to be really a way of being good to oneself, to do practice, to do those kind of things. So, okay.
Hi, my name is Pooja Sharma.
Hello.
And this is the first time I'm here live with you. And I heard your voice when I was doing Savasana in one of my yoga practice. And since then, I've been listening to you. And
I put people to sleep.
not really, but again, needless to say, because it really touches our soul. And I've been playing your song and not knowing who's listening, but in the weekends, in the morning. And the other day, I was playing your song, and my 14-year-old son said, "Mom, you didn't play Saraswati today, and can you please play that song?" Because, and that really. And my younger one, he's 14, and my younger one then said to me, Bhaiya, but I like Ma Durga better. And I not knowing what your songs have impact on my kids, of course, for me as well. I hope you're able to sing one of them, and so I can record and share with them and bring them here again next time I plan to come. But my question to you is that, In the 50 years you've been chanting, what is your biggest takeaway from 50 years of chanting?
That it's not me doing it. That's what you asked, that's what you get. Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, when I open my mouth, he sings. That's his blessing. And that's what you feel. I get all the good stuff from you, but he's the one doing it, so it's a big joke. Yeah. And the other thing is there's no bottom, there's no end to how deep you can go. You can always, it always opens up, it can always open up more and more and more, and be more, and you can really reach home base, and eventually we can stay there. We can be at home in ourselves. It's a really big thing. Order?
You mentioned that you've been in dark places, and I'm sure there must be some aha moments earlier in your career where you saw some self-realization based on the chants. Any stories you want to share with us around those, those aha moments earlier on in your career? Now I think you've plateaued and you are in that phase already. Yeah, all the time. It's plateaued, meaning you're always in that high that we never get. We get once in a lifetime.
Oh yeah, sure. That's
yeah.
I don't know about aha moments. I've had a lot of uh-oh moments. All the chants are the same for me. It's the devotion. Whatever button you push, the devotion is the same. It may be a different form, a different object, but it's the feeling of that river of love opening in the heart. That's why they're all the same for me, all the chants. And for me, they're all Maharaji, so he's the whole universe as far as I'm concerned. So, and I hope as far as he's concerned too. Siddhima told me the story. She said that, forget what it was, what she was. Somebody was criticizing Maharaji to her somewhere, and she was very upset. And she was very upset about it. And she was, and then they went somewhere. Maharaji and Siddhima and others went somewhere, and they went to this temple. And inside the temple, the Bhagavad Gita was written. Every verse, the whole Bhagavad Gita was written. And he went up to this verse, and he pointed to it and looked at her. And the verse was, "In this whole vast universe, there is nothing higher than I. All the worlds have their rest in me like pearls upon a string." And he smiled at her. There's a really great book about the Bhagavad Gita by an Englishman who lived in India his whole life, most of his life, from like age 20 on. And he had been a history or English professor at Lucknow University, and he lived with his department head and his department's wife, head's wife. And a secret guru-disciple relationship developed between the department head's wife and this young man. And when the old guy died, the two of them went off to the Himalayas, not far from Kenchi, actually, and built a little temple to Krishna and lived there very simply. But this guy, his Indian name was Sri Krishna Prem, and he's written a couple of books. One of them is called The Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavat Gita. And it's a very flowery style of writing, you know, like in the 30s. It's from the 30s. But this guy was extraordinary. And he says every chapter of the Gita builds on the chapter before it. They're not separate. You can't just separate them and read them. Each revelation, each understanding builds chapter by chapter by chapter until the final chapters. It's really an extraordinary book. Very hard to find. The Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita. And the author? Sri Krishna Prem.
It's in reprint.
It's what?
In reprint on Amazon.
It's in reprint, and actually I think you can get it online for free.
Amazon.
On Amazon. And if they don't have it on Amazon, there's if you Google it, you can actually get like a PDF of it for free.
What was the last name?
The what?
Krishna Prem. P-R-E-M.
P-R-E-M. Prem. He lived just up the road from Kenchi, you know, about 15 kilometers away.
Krishnadas,
Yes.
we have about over 100 people online who are also here watching.
Yeah, they're watching TV while we're...
So they have some questions, so
Okay.
since we're waiting here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. KD has traveled a lot over the past years, giving kirtans in Europe and elsewhere. Has this changed his perspective at all? Does he feel more or less hopeful about people and the world in general?
I don't feel hopeful or not hopeful. It's not my world to run. I just sing. But it's been great out there. Everybody's been singing great, and everywhere we went, there were a lot of people very happy to be together after the pandemic and singing. So yeah, but as far as hopeful and not hopeful, I don't know enough to be either one. So.
Do you think it's important for Americans to learn Sanskrit or Hindi? Does chanting in English bring the same transformation? Are there chants or chanters that work in English that you respect?
Well, Sanskrit is what they call a revealed language, which means it kind of dripped down from a higher plane. And so through the repetition of those sounds, they reflect where they came from, so to speak. That's what a revealed language means. Hindi comes from Sanskrit, so there's a lot of that in there. English comes from the mind of some very weird people. And it appeals to the emotions. But the words don't have, this is my opinion, of course. English doesn't have the shakti to manifest the thing itself. For instance, if you say Ram, 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 eventually Ram's going to show up. If you say car, 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 and you're in your bathroom, chances are a car won't show up. but because we're so emotionally identified with our stuff, English has the ability to open us up emotionally and kind of soften us a bit. It can do that. The concepts that we sing can give us some, loosen us up and allow some good stuff to happen. Maharaji, we used to sing Chalisa to him, but we didn't know what it means. So we knew basically what it means. We didn't know the full translation. So there was one guy there who had lived in India for a long time and spoke perfect Hindi. One night, Maharaji says, would you translate it for these people? They don't even know what the fuck they're singing. So he made an English Chalisa. It all came out like in rhyme. And that's around. And it's nice, I like it. But I've been doing this for so long, anyway, but it's very nice because you can actually, when I do 108 Chalisas, for instance, I read, every once in a while I'll read the translation so I can refresh exactly, kind of what I'm singing. So it's a good idea to have some idea what it's about, that you're making this offering, you're connecting with Maharaji, with Hanuman, and that this is mantra, so English mantras tend to be what they call positive thinking, like I am good, I am beautiful, I am loving, I am all that, which can be helpful, but it's different than a mantra. It's not bad, but it's not exactly the same. It can be very helpful. I was in an apartment of a woman friend of mine many years ago, and every corner of the apartment had a little sign, I am beautiful, I am good, I am great, I am happy, I am this. And I thought, Jesus Christ, what does she think of herself, that she needs all this stuff up there? It was very heartbreaking, actually. It was very emotional for me. Because I saw this is who she wants to be, but it's not who she really felt she was, It was like really hurt. I ran out of there. Just teasing. It was just a great line, I'm sorry. So that's the kind of thing, the meaning of the words, the real meaning of Ram is not something we can understand with the mind, with thoughts. It's not. It comes from intuition or inner knowing, beyond thinking, beyond the thoughts. You could say it's a feeling, but it's not an emotional feeling. And it's an opening, an awareness that opens up within of what these words, who we are actually also. So English is the language that we speak, whether it's Spanish, English, Portuguese, or whatever, speaks to us in a certain kind of way, but it's not mantric in the sense of having that power to invoke a deeper awareness. At least that's my opinion. I mean, when Indians sing these things, they know what they're singing. They know what every word means because it's their language. We're sitting there singing, we don't know what we're doing. And yet Maharaji loved it. And he encouraged us, he called us to sing again and again and again and again and again, knowing that we really didn't know the meaning of the words, but we did feel the devotion, which is the essence of it. So you don't want to get stuck in the words and not feel the love or the connection. That's what's really important. But then again, the meaning can help that also.
I just have one more and then we'll pass it back to the floor.
They're asleep here.
Would Krishnadas tell the story about the bus they took to Brindavan and Kanchi after Maharaji died?
He would if he could remember. I don't remember any bus. Brindavan and Kanchi. We went to Brindavan. We went to Kanchi, but I don't remember a bus. No bus, no story. There's not much to tell. It was a very emotional time. Actually, in Vrindavan, we were walking down the street on the way to the temple, and somebody pointed to this guy sitting in a car, and he said, "That's Maharaji's son." And I said, "What?" We didn't know Maharaji had a family. Very few people knew. Some of the old devotees knew, but most people didn't know. In fact, the president of the board of the temple in Vrindavan, when he found out, he had a nervous breakdown. And he kind of left the temple for years. Finally, Siddhima brought him back and healed him up. But Maharaji the story is he left home, his mother died, and his father married again, and his stepmother didn't feed him because his father was a landowner and she wanted her son to inherit the land. So he took off to the jungle and lived in the jungle a long time, and then somebody recognized him and told his father, and his father went and brought him home. He'd been engaged to a village girl before he left, and so when he came home, they got married, and they had 3 children, and his daughter told me that he was the perfect father. He would walk me to school with an umbrella to shield me from the sun, and as far as she remembered, he was always home until she went away to school in another town when she was like 16. That's one story. The other story was told to me by another great devotee of his named Jivanda. Jivan was a wild man. He was such a great being. He told me once they drove up to the jungle outside of Maharaji's village. And they got out of the car, the jeep, and they walked through the jungle to the village. And when they got out of the car, Maharaji's wearing his blanket and the dhoti, and they were walking. When they got to the village, Jivan looks and he's wearing this uniform. You got this uniform of the village, like a village constable, not a constable, but a village leader, something like that. And they walked around and everybody waved, and everybody just acted like he was always there. And then they walked through the jungle again. By the time they got back to the jeep, he was wearing his blanket and dhoti again. Come on, you know? Who can do that? But the funny thing is, you see, the people in the village, they didn't miss him. They didn't feel he wasn't there. Even he might be gone for a year, but they never missed him. Why? Because he has the keys to the mind. If he doesn't want you to miss him, you don't miss him. You know, it never occurs to you he's not around. We're talking big time stuff here. Yeah. I wonder, is it hard for you all to hear things like that? You know, like that he has the keys to the mind? You think, like, what does that mean? You know, he could do anything. He said, I could turn your minds against me. Dava, don't do that. He just laughed. But he knew when your time was up, you had to go. He would transfer you. And all of a sudden, you wish you were in New York. And then you go. And then you're there. And you go, how did I get here? It's like my friend who stood on the spot, the same spot she stood in 30 years before, looking at Maharaji, knowing she finally made it. She was home. She would always be here. And 30 years went by. And she didn't notice until that moment. Yeah, and we still think we're running the show. surrender just is recognition of the way things really are. It's not, you're not giving anything up. Anybody?
This is a question from my 3-year-old son,
Oh, hi.
actually. Hi. On Wednesday or Thursday, he ran in from the garden and asked me, "Mommy, am I God?"
Wait, I can't hear you too well. Go ahead.
My 3-year-old son
Uh-huh.
ran in from the garden on Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember what day it was, and he asked me if he was God.
If he was God?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you because I paused and I know that I took me a long time to like get the white hair in the cloud image out of my head, and I didn't want to mess
That's not
up
God.
his.
That's just a cranky old guy in the sky. You should ask him, who is God? Who do you think God is?
Well,
And
then
what
he
would
asked
it
me
say?
if he walks, so I
If God walks?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll just ask him back, like you said.
Yeah, I have no idea. Just give him ice cream. He'll forget about it. Tell him ice cream is God. That he'll believe. I have no idea what to say to a kid like that. But you can, there's no way you can even talk to somebody. Wonder where to even hear about those concepts.
Well, I talk about God a lot, and we were at Chapel Pond in the Adirondacks.
I see, that's the problem, right?
Yes, that's why I'm asking you. Yeah.
Yeah, God is treating people well. God is treating people like you would like to be treated. There isn't some guy sitting up in the sky throwing thunderbolts at you, unless you're Jewish. And, that's, God is everyone. And everyone is everyone. It's who He is. It's who you are. There's no. In the West, when you say God, it's kind of like this very concentrated, brittle kind of concept,
Yeah.
But in India, you walk down the street in India, Durga Travels, Sri Ram Insurance Company. Everywhere you go, there's God. You know? Sachi baat. Hanuman. So, these things are so far beyond the conceptual mind that it's kind of a disservice to bring it down into that. You could say God is love, God is everywhere, God is seeing people as good. You can bring it out of that polymorphic Western diseased mind kind of thing. Would be very helpful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
When you're talking about...
A little closer.
Okay.
I know it's hard, but I'm deaf, so.
I'm really happy to be here. Was not expecting to come here. Initially, my mom, who's a yoga teacher, was supposed to come out from Cali and come visit and experience this wonderful concert. But instead, my mom got COVID, and I came with my aunt. And when you were talking about when you want to start a habit, and you're getting down on yourself, if you're really depressed, or if you're anxiety ridden, and you just want to keep that habit going, you know. What do you find that like helps you push through that? Because I've been doing this 40 days sadhana for Kundalini yoga, and initially it was really hard. I was waking up at like 6:30 with my mom, trying to get there, you know, waking up, but these limitations I was putting on myself, like I'm not a morning person, you know, I don't.
That's very reasonable.
Yeah. You know, I would almost pride myself that I was a night owl. Like I was always telling my friends, like I would just stay out late, you know. And Kundalini yoga really brought in this almost rejuvenative energy in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got my 40.
It's good. I'm here.
I finally got my 40-day done, and I felt like on top of the world. But that was just the start. You know, I really want to keep going, and you know, almost you know, second thought, just like keep going, keep going. But my question is to you, when you are feeling down and you're second guessing yourself, or like you're a little depressed, what pushes you to like keep going and get that, you know, daily practice in? Because it is very important, I feel like, physically and mentally, just pushing through.
Behind your question, there's a lot of self-loathing. And you're using the practice to beat yourself up. And that's not a lot of fun. And so if you're beating yourself up, nothing good's going to come from that. Not what you want. So developing habits doesn't have to be torture. It doesn't have to be negative. And it doesn't have to come, although most of our actions do come out of our self-hatred, because that's one of our basic programs, is that we're not worthy of love, we're not good enough, we'll never be good enough. This is something that's running all the time in almost every Westerner you'll ever meet. Because we're brought up that way. Our parents felt that, their parents, blah, 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 blah. So, but it's good. You got a little hit, that's nice. Now go party. See what happens. You may not like the party. Those things will change you from the inside, but I mean, from my experience, and I've done that to myself enough times, it's not coming out of love. It's not even coming out longing for love. It's coming out of trying to change yourself because you don't like this or you don't like that. So notice all that stuff and see how it pushes you around. That's useful to see that. And when you feel like doing some practice, do it. And when you're thirsty, you'll drink. But you want to drink good, clean water. You don't want to drink sewage. So when you're really thirsty and you've had enough experience, you'll look for what's really going to quench your thirst. And as time goes on, you know, you see that it's really, we want to live in love. And it's not, we want to feel at home. We want to be at ease in our lives and in our life. So that's not going to come from beating yourself up. But watching how you beat yourself up and seeing how much that is in your life, that could help you release some of that. Practice is good, but it shouldn't. We shouldn't be beating ourselves up with it. You know, you have a life. You have all kinds of things you want to do. You know.
But that desire to change and to grow as a person, I feel like I'm that lot of that we're talking about. That you bring in. I feel like the scale kind of tips to me being like, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
You don't need anything. You already are all that. But you don't believe it. Right? So you're going to start plugging in all this stuff and adding all this shit onto you, carrying more stuff around, and rather than discovering that, looking in the mirror and seeing your true nature, you already are everything you have to be. But it's covered up, like all of us. It's like we have the wrong prescription glasses on and we don't know it. So we look around and we see everything looks a certain way. As soon as we replace the glasses, oh. So how do you correct your vision? Yeah, practice, but not, if you're beating yourself up with it, that's not going to correct your vision. That's just going to add, it's going to make you more tense. You're going to get more uptight. Then you'll want to do more practice. So, but it's good. Calm your ass down.
I got all anxiety. I was talking with you. The whole time I was like, I really need to get this question right.
Calm your ass down and see what you want to do with your life and go for it 100%. The most important thing is to give yourself 100% to whatever you're doing. And you'll notice you can't. So then you'll try to figure out a way how to get to that place. For instance, many years ago, before going to India, we were up at the Lama Foundation for the winter. Me, Ram Dass, and about 10 or 15 other people. And we heard that this guy, there was an artist named Hanuman who lived down the mountain who had been to India and knew how to meditate. Oh, big time. So a few of us went down to meet him. We spent all day with him. And as we were leaving, I was sitting in the back just listening, you know, I didn't say anything. As we were leaving, I was the last one out the door. He grabbed my arm and he pulled me around and he said, you have to find out why it is you can't give yourself 100% to whatever you're doing. You ever see a squirrel on the wall of a taxidermy shop? You know, like, he just nailed me to the wall. How he knew that was amazing. I can still feel his hand over there. He got me. And from that moment on, I noticed all the time. I wasn't totally there, no matter what I was doing. My mind was judging, thinking, wondering, fear, anguish, all the stuff. It was an amazing moment of insight. So those things happen, and from those insights you get wisdom. And wisdom means knowing who you are a little bit, getting a little deeper insight into who you are. You can't breathe yourself from this world to another world, no matter how much Kundalini yoga you do. It's not enough. It's nice. It's a decent practice done in the correct way with the right state of mind. But if you ask the ego to kill the ego, it's just like asking the thief to be the policeman. A lot of investigation or breathing will be done, but no arrest will ever be made. So, chill. It's all good. It's good. The longing in your heart is really where it is. What you're going to find to try to move deeper into that, you'll find. But take it easy. You know? Until you're old and cranky like me. Nothing works.
Hey, Katie.
Where are you? Yeah.
I was wondering if you could share.
Frank.
I was wondering if you could share some stories about
No.
Shyam Das and maybe some about Mr. Tiwari.
That miserable guy in that picture?
Yeah, that guy.
I got nothing to say about him. Motherfucker. Shyam was really wonderful. He was great. Unfortunately, he was a wrestler in high school, and he never quite got over that. He would always wrestle with me, emotionally, spiritually. He was always competing with me. It was the weirdest thing. We loved each other, but he was always like, you know Shyam. But we loved each other a lot, and he was great. And I was so pissed off at him for dying, I can't tell you. And I flew right over where he died. I just said, you miserable shit, how could you do that? But, and he wasn't supposed to be there, He died in Goa in a motorcycle accident. He wasn't supposed to be in Goa. He was supposed to be in Vrindavan doing something else, but he had an argument with the guy he was supposed to be doing that in Vrindavan, so he didn't go. And I said to Robert Svoboda, my friend, Robert, I said, he wasn't even supposed to be there. And Robbie just said, when Mahakala wants you, he puts you just where you're supposed to be. Okay. So yeah, Shyam was great. And he could translate beautiful poetry and everything. Yeah, a unique being, for sure. A lot of devotion. Anybody? Oh yeah, okay. All right. Give him 5 rupees, he'll give you the mic.
Thank you. I'm sorry I don't
Hi.
know more about your past, but I'm
Don't be sorry.
deeply interested in how you met this Maharishi, and who was this Maharishi?
Yeah.
How did you and your friends end up going to India with this magical man? If you could share, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there are some really wonderful books about him that really carry him. There's, first of all, Ram Dass put together Miracle of Love, which is a bunch of stories, really great stories. And then 2 books by one beautiful old devotee named Dada. One of them is called By His Grace, which is a fantastic book. And then lately, Parvati Marcus put together a couple of books that are really cool. One is called Love Everyone. She brutalized us until we sent her our diaries from those old days, and she put them all together, and it's incredible. Really, it's like being there. Really cool. And then she wrote another one called Whisper in the Heart, Whispers in the Heart, which is about people who met Maharaji after he left the body. So, and then Larry Brilliant wrote a fantastic book called Sometimes Brilliant. Maharaji had sent Dr. Larry down to Delhi to work for the United Nations Health Organization. And it's an incredible story how it led to the eradication of smallpox, which was killing 500,000 people a year in India and other places. You can really get a taste of Maharaji from all these books. I met Maharaji, so I was living on a farm in upstate New York, and I was driving a school bus. And the farm was owned by some friends of mine who were Jungian acid head mountain climbers. If you can digest that, you get an idea of what it was like. Wild, wonderful people. So one day, the guy who owned the place said that they heard Richard Alpert had come back from America, come back from India, and was now called Ram Dass, and he was up in New Hampshire, and they were going to see him. And did I want to go? And I said, no, American yogis? Right, forget it. So they went off. And they were supposed to be gone like a day or two. They were like gone 2, 3, 4 days. And I'd just come out of the goat shed. We had 2 goats. One was Madame Blavatsky, the other was Alice Bailey. I just came out of a pail of goat milk, and the car comes up the driveway and pulls around, and the guy gets out of the car and he turns and he looks at me like, and he had light shooting out of his head. I'd never seen anything like that. I just said, "Write down the directions, I'm leaving right away." And I ran out to my cabin and I got my stuff and I hit the road. And I drove all night. It was the coldest night of the year. I had the heater on full blast and still was just cold air. I drank mocha lattes all the way to New Hampshire. It took about 8 hours to get there, like a 4-hour drive. I pulled into the driveway, all snow covered. Turned off the car. There's a hole in my muffler, so all night long it was like, and all of a sudden, boom. Absolute silence, right? And right in here in the center of my chest, there was this like thing went, bloop. What is that? Am I having a heart attack? What is that? So anyhow, so I walked up to the house and the door opens and this guy with a beard, Rameshwar Das, opens the door. And he just looks at me and goes, he points up the stairs. And I thought, these fucking people are crazy. I better get the fuck out of here. And I wanted to run away, but it was too late. So I walked up the stairs and I turned into the room and Ram Dass was sitting on the other side of the room, leaning back against the wall, his eyes were closed. The minute I walked into that room, I knew that whatever it was I was looking for was real. And it was in the world, and you could find it. And that was the beginning of the rest of my life. And then I got friendly with Ram Dass, started hanging out, traveling around with him for the next couple of years. And one day I said to him, "Yeah, I'm going to go to India and find Maharaji." And he said, "Well, listen, I can't tell you. I was told not to talk about him." He told me when he sent me back, when I was going back to America, he said, "Don't talk about me." So all he did was talk about him, nonstop, but he never said his name or where to find him. Because there's 1 million Maharajas in India, the sweeper's Maharaji, the chaiwala's Maharaj. So you couldn't find him that way. But I said, "I don't care, I'm going to go, I'll find him." And he said, "Now wait a minute, wait." So he said, "Look, I'll give you the address of my friend, and you write to this guy, KK Shah." So I wrote to KK, I said, "I want to come meet Maharaji." I got a letter back saying, "Oh, it's wonderful. Students of Ram Dass, yes, he's such a great being. Unfortunately, Maharaji's not in the hills at his temple in Kenchi at this time." "But when he returns, I'll show him your letters and I'll write to you." Okay. So me and Ramesh, we were out in California wandering around getting poison oak and Big Sur. It had all over us. It was so horrible. And I get this letter. And it says, hello. "As you know, great beings like Maharaji do not encourage the devotees to come to them. But their doors are always open. So, if you're traveling in India, you can come see him." Great, let's go. So we went. A couple of months later, we left. Probably about 10 years later, when KK and I became very close, one day he says to me, "Did I ever tell you what really happened that day?" "No. What?" So first you got to understand, KK grew up in Maharaji's lap, right? From the time he was 8 years old on, Maharaji would come to his house. KK, he treated him like his grandfather. There was respect, but no distance, no formality. He was like a kid, KK. And KK also, if you tell KK to sit down, he stands up. If you say stand up, he sits down. If you tell him to eat, he fasts. If you tell him to fast, he eats. If you tell him to go away, he stays. If you say stay, he goes away. He's like that. You got to know that. And more, you have to know that Ram Dass met KK the very first time he met Maharaji, KK was the translator there, that was there that day, and he translated. And at the end of the evening, Maharaji sent Ram Das home with KK and told him to give him white bread. Feed him, take care of him, and give him double roti, white bread. So they developed a very close relationship, and KK felt that it was his seva, his service, to help Ram Das. Okay, so he comes into the room with my letter and two other letters, Danny and Rameshwaras. And he puts them on the bed next to Maharaji. Maharaji's talking to some people in the room. And KK sits down, he peels an apple and cuts it into small pieces and is feeding Maharaji, right? Maharaji's taking the apple and he notices the letters. He says, "What's that?" And KK said, "Oh, they're letters from students of Ram Das. They want to come see you. They want to come have your darshan." "No, tell them not to come. What do I have to do with this?" And he goes back to his conversation. Now, like I explained to you, KK. So he stopped feeding Maharaji the apple, and he begins to pout. You've never seen anybody pout until you've seen KK pout. It's like unbelievable. And he showed me, he said, he stopped, he wouldn't look at Maharaji, he wouldn't talk to him, and wouldn't feed him the apple. And Maharaji goes, "Kailas, what's the matter?" And Maharaji would push his head up, but KK would look away. He wouldn't look at him. When he took his hand, he'd put his head back down again. This happened 3 or 4 times. And finally, Maharaji throws his hand up and says, "Okay, tell him what you want." So, let's revisit that letter. As you know, great beings like Maharaji do not encourage the devotees to come to them, but their doors are always open. Now, if it had been another devotee, it would have been, Maharaji says not to come, go fuck yourself. And that would have been it. You wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here, the whole other life. But the puppeteer put everybody in place so that it would happen just this way, while he acted like nothing was happening and he had nothing to do with it. And he was always doing that. So, I have the letter. It's right. I look at it every once in a while. My whole life dangling by a thread and just seeming disinterest in the whole thing. Yeah, tell him not to come. All right, tell him what you want. And here we are. Really, it's just like that. So, that's how I met him. And then he kept me in India a long time too. 2.5 years he kept me. My visa was up 6 months into it. How did that work? I can't remember the timing, but at one point I was at a Dada's house in Allahabad where Maharaji was staying in the winter. And Ram Das and most of the Westerners, their visas were up. They came later than me. So they had a particular kind of visa which was finished and they had to go renew it. But they had registered in Delhi. So they had to go back to Delhi and they had heard there was some official that they could bribe to get their visas extended. So they all went off to bribe this guy and they wound up getting sent back to America. They couldn't even say goodbye to Maharaji. Me, I stayed. I would have gone, but I had registered in Bodh Gaya, in Gaya, because I came earlier than them. I was in a different place. So I had to go to Gaya. So I brought my bags to the house one night, and I told Dada, I have to leave. I have to get my visa extended. I'm going to go to Gaya by the night train, but I'm not going without darshan. So he said, "Okay, you just wait here." So later on, Maharaji calls me in, and he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to Gaya to get my visa extended." He said, "So go?" I said, "Well, they'll probably send me back to America." "So go?" "I know you're everywhere. Get out of here." Okay. So I'm out on the porch waiting for the train. A few minutes later, Dada comes out and said, Maharaji says not to go. He'll send you to Kanpur to his devotee who's the chief of police. He'll stamp your visa. So I got another year. And what did Maharaji do for the next week, 10 days? He was telling everybody, oh, Krishna Ras is so high, he's so humble, he went to the lowest place and now look, he gets to stay. Those other guys went to the high place and they all had to go home. Oh, you know, like total bullshit, but you know, that's what he did all the time. Yeah, I mean, you know, there were so many other ways this could have worked out. One thinks, if one thinks. But here we are.